and gentlemen, we are here with another Facebook Live. We are very fortunate from the desert of California to have real estate extraordinaire Brian Lama. Brian, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Studio audience loves you, and I just heard him say, nice do, right? Nice do. Wow.
Yeah. Well, listen, I asked you for the best barber in the desert, and you hooked me up, so.
That's right. Yeah, we have what's called a tight do. It's tight.
Hey, I like to tell people I could swim like a dolphin, and I don't have to wear a hair, a cap or anything. So.
Yeah, and if we worked at restaurants, we wouldn't need a hairnet, right? So
no, exactly. Well, see, there's positives.
Exactly right. I always tell people, like most people have a hair do, you and I have a hair don't.
Hair don't, exactly.
Right? We have a hair don't.
Yep.
All right, well, tell about yourself, how long you've been doing this wonderful thing called real estate, all that good stuff, Brian, please.
So, real estate specifically since 2018. I started with Berkshire Hathaway in Chicago, the northern suburbs. I was out of the Lake Forest office. So that's Berkshire Hathaway. It used to be Koning. Now it's Berkshire Hathaway Chicago. And I started there in 18. But prior to that, I'm from the northern suburbs of Chicago, and I was in tech sales for about 30 years between CDW and Rand McNally, the map people. I worked in a variety of sales roles, and I did some product management back in those days. So I always had a sales / marketing background. And then in right around 2015, my wife and I bought a house out here in the desert, knowing eventually we were going to move here. And she was still working, and she had like about 3 or 4 more years she wanted to put in at the company she was at. So we bought a house. And then in 2018, I said to her, I'm done sitting in cubicles. I'm done with the corporate world. You get your 3 weeks vacation. If you're a good boy, we'll give you an extra day every 5 years and all those kind of things. And, truthfully, Rick, I was also tired of them giving me these scripts all the time. And not that they aren't good. They work for some people, but it just wasn't me personally. So I was always pretending to be someone else. And I always had a hard time with it. And so in 18, I said to my wife, listen, I'm going to switch. She had a good job, so we were very fortunate that we had income coming in. I said, I'm going to switch to real estate. I really think I can leverage my sales background and do that. And then when you retire, as we all know, one of the nice things about real estate is you build your schedule, you build your time and things like that. Now, the reality is I find myself more busy now than I probably was in any other job that I had, but it's all a good thing, right? So at 18, I got my license in Chicago, started working with Berkshire Hathaway up in the Lake Forest office. Mark Pasquesi was our managing broker at the time. And the first 2 years, I really leveraged my relationships from the town I grew up in. And I did probably a couple rentals, but probably 20, 22 sales in the first 2 years. It's a very different market than what I'm used to here because I was selling properties that were $140,000, $180,000. The best deal I think I had was a little over 500. We're out here, you have many more properties that are, high 6 figures and 7 figures. So that started in 18. I was there until 21. Then I moved out here full time a year before my wife retired. And our plan was for me to come out, get the experience in Chicago, come out here, start a year before she came out. Gives me a year to start building a network because I had absolutely zero network in the Palm Springs area. So I came out a year before her, started working. And truthfully, I actually went to Better Homes because the guy who I sold me my house out here was at Berkshire. I said, hey, I'll come to Berkshire there. I'm at Berkshire now in Chicago. I'll transfer over there. He goes, well, I just left, went to Better Homes. So he goes, why don't you come join my team here? So I did that. And after 2 months, I'm like, this isn't Berkshire. This is nothing like the infrastructure I have in Chicago. And I met with Dwayne then out here at our Palm Springs office. And so after being here about 2 months, I switched back over to Berkshire, which was the right thing to do. Um, Thank you. Yeah, I should have, again, I was kind of like, well, I have no network. This guy's invited me to be on his team. I'll do it. But truthfully, it wasn't the right place. So, anyways, I came over here in September of 21, started working with Dwayne. As you know, then we were in the middle of COVID. So it
Yeah.
was kind of hard to get stuff to do, kind of hard to do open houses and all those kind of things. So I said to my wife, I go, I'm not a person who can just sit on the couch and wait. You know this business. You can't wait for the phone to ring, right? I mean, it's not going to ring for you. So I said, I need to get out and do some things, even outside of real estate, to try to just build a network, right? So I took a job at a golf course on Mondays and Tuesdays, which in the real estate world is a little bit like our weekend, because we all work over the weekends for open houses and so forth. So I started doing that. And then that was in March of 22. I did that up to about a year and a half ago. So I did a little over a year. So started at Berkshire 21, got my first deal in February of 23. So it took me a year and a half. And that was an open house that I sat for a Berkshire agent in Beverly Hills. I did their open house here at a condo, met a guy, he bought a condo through me. And then between February of 23 and, that year, I did 5 deals. And it came out to about 3.2 million in volume. So it took me over a year, almost a year and a half to do my first deal out here. And as I said, I had zero network. But I will tell you, since then, at the golf course, I've done, of all my deals, I've done 3 or 4 from people I've met at the golf course.
Nice.
So getting out there and talking and meeting people started the process. Then, of course, my wife got out here. Her and her girlfriends are all in Pilates. So I got a client from, it starts to build your sphere. But if you're brand new to an area, you got to go into it, in my mind anyways, that it's going to take you a good year to get stuff going. Unless you're on a team where they might give you business, somehow. I don't know how that works personally, but maybe that's an option.
Yeah, that's such a great point that you should have tucked away if you're going to jump into real estate. But you're such a great example, Brian, because you moved from Chicago to Palm Springs. It took you a while to get it going, right?
Mm-hmm.
But once you got in gear, it really took off from the relationships, from the
Yeah.
prospect, from the things that you were doing in order to fill that pipeline.
Yeah, and for me, the biggest source beyond the people I met just through the golf course or playing golf too. I play golf. I a lot of times I'll go out and play golf as a single. So, this might sound kind of weird, but I do it solely for the purpose that they hook me up with 3 people.
Right.
So for
That's
4
smart.
hours, I'm with 3 other guys or ladies, and so what do you do? Where are you from? That comes up all the time, right? So my wife goes, "You're gonna go play golf by yourself?" I'm like, it's marketing. First of all, I love golf, and second, it's marketing. So I've met people doing that too, and I purposely do it. So I'm constantly, kind of farming, as you want to say, for business. So besides that, I would say for me, and this helped me in Chicago quite a bit. And I think this is, I don't know what some of your future questions are, so maybe I'm stepping on them now. But
Okay.
one of the things I think that I did in Chicago, and I did here and still do here, is I do 2 to 4 open houses a weekend. And I think for me, when I first started, especially, it was to learn how to talk about real estate. It forced me to learn about that neighborhood or what's going on in that community. It forced me to look up what are the recent sales there, what are the current other homes that are for sale. So I got to learn my market by doing the open houses. And then when people came in, just talking with them. They asked me questions, and maybe if I didn't have the answer, I'd say, you know what, I don't know. I'll have to find out for you. And that opened up like, hey, I didn't know in the desert you need to do this. Hey, we got Indian land, tribal land out here. How does that work? So being in those environments, putting yourself in that environment allowed me to expand my knowledge and find business. So I would say, I said 3 or 4 from golf. I would say I've had 8 to 10 deals from open houses.
Nice. Okay,
And
good.
most of those are open houses for other agents, not my stuff. That's other agents.
Agents listings that you sit in, and you collect people like, and I'm assuming you get everybody to sign in, or at least most of them to sign in, so you have names to follow up on and so forth.
I do ask, I don't push if they say they don't want to. And I say, okay, that's fine. I go, if you have an agent, that's cool too. Write their name down, which is what I tell my clients. You're going to go look at open houses. They're going to want you to sign in. Feel free just to write in my name. So they
Yeah,
can
plus,
just do that. If the guy wants to call or the lady who wants to call, they can call me direct.
yeah, and if you make an impression, like my idea of an open house is, I call it an excuse to prospect that turns into a free retail store to collect leads,
Right.
and you make an impression, make a connection, because it wasn't uncommon for me, even if they walked in saying I'm working with somebody else, for them to call me a week later and go, you know what, we thought, we like what you had to say. You seem to know the area. Would you help us? Right. So it's okay if they end up contacting you, but it's all about making an impression the first time they come out.
Yeah, so I will tell you right now, when we got connected, I think I said to you, I'm sending an email to Mary over at Pickford, and I'm working with a buyer. He signed a offer that we're going to present today, and never knew this guy. He called me about 3 weeks ago and said, I got your name from this other gentleman who met you at an open house. And he gave me your name to call, and he said to me, this being the buyer, I think this guy's the one you want to work with because I think he can negotiate for you. And
Hey,
the buyer who I'm working with said they were out here a few months ago, met an agent, and they go, the agent didn't really do anything, didn't say much, didn't do, we went to look at a house, and I brought with me I printed out 4 other houses. And we're sitting in the kitchen at this house we're looking at. I go, here's 4 others in the area. Take a look, see if you want. I can call up, see if we can go take a look at them. And the wife looked at me and said, okay, right there, the other guy didn't do anything like that. We went and looked at a house, and that was it. Then he left. We look
right.
at this house, and you bring me 4 other options to see if we can go look at them. So to your point, I made an impression to his friend, not even him,
Right.
who then said,
Yeah.
call this guy. So the open houses, and I don't let people just go. My standard shtick, if you want to say that, is, hi, welcome, all that kind of stuff. Let me give you the lowdown of the house, and then you can go walk around. They're like, oh, okay, great. I go, so it's X amount of feet. They're asking this much for it. The AC was done 2 years ago. Blah blah blah. This is fee land, not lease land. I give them an overview. I say the bedrooms are down there. The family room. Feel free to walk around. Let me know if you have any questions. Well, I don't wait for them to let me know. I go down the hallway when they're in the bedrooms. Go, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention the roof was done 2 years ago. And a lot of times they'll say, oh, hey, how about this? And I go, oh, well, this, you know what I mean? You just start conversations with people.
Yeah.
But I'm not one who just sits there on my laptop like, yeah, there you go. Go ahead, walk around, do what you want. I
Right.
engage with them. I engage with them the whole time. And then I just say to them, can you sign in for me? If you don't, I appreciate it if you do. I'd like to be able to tell the sellers exactly how many people came by and so forth.
Yeah. Good. No, I love it. I love it. Yeah. When you act assumptively, when people are motivated to buy or sell, and you act assumptively, like I know the market. All right. I can help you. Let's go. When they feel that, the motivated people like that. That's why they want to work with you. You're supposed to be normal, natural, and easy for
Right.
them. And a lot of agents are just weird and awkward. I don't know why, but it's not good for your business.
Right. And then the last thing I try to do, and this gets back to the signing up thing, is I try to do a value add. We out here in the valley, we get a monthly report on from the local real estate association. Each town, detached, attached, all the different homes, what they're selling for, what's it compared to last year. So I always say to people, by the way, if you're interested in the report of the neighborhood, even if you're not ready now, but a report of the valley, I'd be happy to send it to you on a monthly basis. And most people love that because you know how most people are. They like to read, what everybody else selling their houses for, what are the percentages, and they like to compare and contrast. So I
Yeah.
always offer that. And then in doing that, they give me an email, of course, for me to send it to them, or a phone number so I can text it to them. So that's another way I can collect information. But I'm not just asking you for your information. I'm saying I'll give you something in return if you give me the contact information. And
Right.
I send those out every month. I've sent them to guys I met 2 years ago. I still send it to them. And it's, I have a guy up in Canada I met over a year and a half ago, and I sent him a message. And every month I try to reach out to these people one way or the other at the report, or I'll send a text. I sent this guy a text actually. Say, hey, Greg, listen, man, I haven't heard from you. I don't want to keep hammering you, Greg. So let me know if you're still looking for a house. He called me on the phone. He goes, Brian, you are my guy. When I'm ready, you're it. I'm calling you. I'm like, cool. That's all I need to know. I'll send you the reports. You let me know when you're ready to go, and we'll go from that. So it's been working.
That's a good point. Building that network, especially with the tools that we have, neighborhood
Yeah.
report, news, market reports, all the Percy, all the different things we have. That's really easy once you set it up once. Then it auto drips forever.
Right. And you need to do it because the reality is, and even these reports, which aren't this type of report isn't automatically sent. I personally sit at my laptop or my phone, however I'm sending it, and send it every month to these people. And the reality is, as you know, Rick, and it happens to everybody in this business. It could be your cousin. You see them at a party and they're like, oh, yeah, I just put my house up. I'm like, dude, why didn't you call me? Oh, I forgot that you were doing that. So every month I try to touch them at least one time. And I do also the drip campaigns through my whole neighborhood. There's like 3,000 or 4,000 a month that go. Started at 6, but I've had about 2,000 unsubscribe, which is fine. I don't care. But I send that out every month, and it's the only way to I send an email to. Oh, here, quick story for you. Is that okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I did an open house. This was when I first got out here. Had not had a deal. And usually when I do an open house for another agent, what I would do is print off the MLS flyer, and I would walk around the neighborhood, knock on a door, say, hey, man, I'm having an open house at 12 o'clock. Come on by if you want to see what your neighbor's house looks like and because a lot of people want to see, right? What's that guy's house looks like? Or, oh, he's asking 800 for that. Let's go down there and see how ours compares. And 99% of the people don't show up, right? I mean, it's just the way it is. But one guy, I knocked on his door, and as a joke, I said, and listen, I'm totally open. If you want to bring a bottle of wine, come on down and, we'll hang out for a while. Half hour later, this guy knocks on the door with a bottle of wine. He's like, hey, man, I brought you a bottle of wine. I'm like, really? I obviously was very appreciative. He and I started a relationship. 3 weeks ago, I sent him an email. Hey, Jeff, haven't heard from you in a while. Hope everything's going well. Still doing real estate, although it's slowing down, blah, blah, blah. 2 days ago, I get an email from him. Said, I was just in Australia and I met this guy from Florida. He wants to move to Palm Springs of all places. So I'm giving him your name. And I exchanged contacts with this guy yesterday. So again, it was just, if I hadn't sent Jeff that email.
Yeah, who knows, right? Good for you. Well, what brings me to my favorite part of the interview, Brian, is, okay, so I'm an agent. I want, and look, you're a perfect example because you just moved. I mean, I know you've been there for 3 years now, but really that's just moving. If I'm an agent that wants to get my real estate business in gear, what are the 3 most important things you tell them to focus
on? I do think a couple things. One is if you can find someone in the office to build a good relationship with, an experienced agent who can kind of mentor you through the process. Most agents I meet are always very helpful in saying, oh, this is how you do the paperwork, or this is, I had a HUD home, never done one of those before, right? Another agent said, all right, call this number. They're going to do this for you and blah, 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 blah. And she helped me walk through it was Janice in our office. She helped me walk through the whole thing. So I think if you can find someone like that, you always have your managing broker. Dwayne's a great guy and he helps, but he's also getting pulled by 50 other agents. So if you can find another agent, I think that's a great thing. Two, my key, and this was even pre real estate, my motto has always been don't let my prospect or client sit at home wondering what's going on. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, I do a weekly call to my listing client, to let them, how many showings we had." I try to do a lot more than just once a week, even if there's nothing to report. Even if I look through that report and I said, "Hey, man, I just was looking at the report. I noticed that our days on market's gone up 15%." Now, just to give you a heads up on what's going out here. And when you're in a deal, there's nothing worse, and I've been on this side of it, when you're on the buy or sell side, and you're sitting there going, well, what do you think's going on with the inspection? Or what do you think's going on with this? Or when are they going to do this? It's like I try to keep them going every day. Hey, just want to give you a heads up. I got the inspection scheduled for Thursday at 9:00. We should have the report by the next, things like that. So I just try to keep them in a loop constantly. Because to me, there's nothing worse than sitting at home wondering, well, do you think they're going to accept the offer? I don't know, honey. What do you think? Have you heard from Brian at all? No, I haven't heard from him. That's the worst to me. I rather bother you with, I have nothing to tell you, which is not true. I always try to leave them something, but then not, and then rather that than have them just sit there and waiting. So I think that's a key thing. Just even if it's only two people you're working with, then keep in touch with those two people as much as you possibly can, and via email, text, phone calls, whatever you want to do. Just touch them as much as you possibly can. And then the last thing for new people, I really believe, as I touched on earlier, is the open houses. I really believe, and really, as you mentioned, use it as a tool for you to get business, not just for you to sit on Amazon at the kitchen table while people are walking around. I think you really need to engage with them. Share with them information that you have on the neighborhood. Like you probably know out here, there's limited short-term rentals. I'll go down the hallway and say, oh, by the way, just so you guys know, in case you look for it, I don't know, is this going to be permanent for you or is this a rental? Oh, we're not sure yet. Okay. Well, there's no short-term rentals allowed anymore in this neighborhood. Oh, really? Yeah. So here's 4 neighborhoods. If you want me to help you look for places where you can do that. So again, open houses are great for that because it forces you to learn and talk and learn about homes and how they work and stuff. So those are my 3.
Yeah. I think it's important, whether you're at an open house, talking to somebody on the phone, doing some lead follow-up, that you're the most knowledgeable person in the room about real estate. I mean, you are the professional. That's why they're going to hire you. So it's important. And even sitting at an open house is applying for a job, and you need to understand that and be acting like that.
Well, here's something again, like I told you earlier, I go golfing and I go as a single, so I meet people. When my wife and I go to dinner with some people or friends, and especially if they're people I've just met for the first time, if I know where they live, sometimes I scan their neighborhood online because I will tell you every time they'll ask me, what's going on with the neighborhood? And I can say, oh, well, your neighborhood, I just saw that these 2 homes came on the market, or that one just sold at 20% off what they were asking. And they're like, right. Oh, really? Yeah. You know what I mean? So I don't want it to sound like, I'm the guy who nonstop talks to you about real estate, or, what they say about vegans. I'm a vegan, by the way, that you'll find out they're a vegan because they'll tell you.
Right.
Same with CrossFit. You'll find out someone's in a CrossFit because they're going to tell you they're in a CrossFit. I don't have to tell people. Once they learn that I'm a realtor, everyone asks me, what's going on?
Yeah. What's going on in my neighborhood?
Well, and they want to know their neighborhood, right? If I said California, okay, that's great. But if you live in Vista Las Palmas and I can tell you, that there's new construction going on over there, but they're not selling. And then this home sold, at this price, or this one's been on the market for 3 months, things like that, they're interested.
Right.
So constantly be updating yourself on what's going on with the neighborhood.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, you're obviously a very professional agent. I love that you brand. I can sense that. That's incredibly important, and you use it incredibly well. Any final words you want to leave these lovely people as we wind this down?
You know what? All I could tell you is I wish I did this 25 years ago, but it's never too late. I really believe that. And I think it's just, what other business can you start with basically zero capital investment? I mean, I know there's costs for licenses and things like that, but you know what I'm saying. It's not like you got to go
No,
lease a warehouse. And you have to buy a forklift, and you have to buy a truck, and you have to buy
right.
inventory. You don't
Construction
have to do
equipment.
anything,
Yeah.
and you can make as much money as anybody in the world doing this business, and you
I
can do
feel the same.
what you want.
You know, I,
What's
I,
that?
I feel the same. I always ask, has anybody ever owned another business other than real estate? Because even as an independent agent, you're a business owner. You're a solo
Oh yeah.
entrepreneur. Yeah.
One guy said that to me, and I never thought of it that way. He goes, "Show me a business that you can start that is, you know, 5 grand or less, or even less than that initial investment. You're not going to buy a franchise. That's not going to happen.
Nope.
And if you're a distributor, you got to buy inventory and storage and all those kind of things. So it's a great business. It really, really is.
Gig. And you can run it right from, and then when you walk in, especially with us, your website, your CRM, your contact man,
Yes.
all your marketing, all you got to do is put your lovely current picture on all the goodies that current,
Current.
I stress. Yes.
I have
And
my
then
eighth grade graduation. Yeah, mine's eighth grade graduation. I had hair. But no, you're absolutely right. And I really believe that there's no business that you can just start up, put some time
right.
into it and do it. But you have to work at it. It's not, don't watch $1 million listings LA and think you're going to be doing all that, day one. I hope you all do it, but it's takes time. I'm just now getting into the higher priced properties.
Yep.
Right. My first year, I told you where I had business, the highest I think was 5 something or 6 maybe. But then again, I sold a $3 million property 2 months ago. And last month I sold a $108,000 manufactured home. So, I don't say no to it. And that manufactured home takes as much time as the
Yeah.
$3 million home I learned. But I do say no to business too. I had a guy with 70 acres out in the desert, and he wanted a really high price. I go, man, I'm sorry, I just don't think that's legitimate. I don't think it's. And I had a lady in town here who wanted a high price for a home that really someone needed to put a match to it. And I go, I said to her, this is the price I think you should do. And she said, oh, no, no, no. She goes, some builder's going to buy it and he's going to fix it all up and sell it for a lot more. I'm like, then you do that. So you can't be afraid to say no also.
Everybody's an expert in real estate. Have you noticed?
And their house is better than everybody else's.
Well, I just want to say thank you very much for taking your time out today. This was completely
Thank you.
awesome. We appreciate you sharing your nuggets with everybody.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it. You
All right,
have my
thanks, bye.
address for the check, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, okay. I'll be looking for that, or my agent will be calling you.
That's right. That's right. Have your agent reach out to my agent. We'll have your people call mine. We'll do lunch.
All right. Thanks, Rick. Take care.
All right.
Let's play some golf
Let's do it. What you do? Yeah, definitely.
next time you're out.
All right. I'll let you know.
Take care.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, Paul.